What's up, everybody? It's HBT with Straight Up Wrestling Show. Guys, I am here live, man, but I got to do a couple things here real quick. I got to do a couple things here. So give me just a moment and I will be right with you guys. Man, I have not forgot. But yeah, I definitely got to go ahead and knock a couple things off here. Then, guys, we are going to get rolling, man. We are going to get rolling with what we have going on today. And man, I'm talking about overproducing, guys. The overproducing. I'm talking about overproducing wrestling content, guys. And overproducing, man. The overproduction is lowering the value of professional wrestling. It's lowering what professional wrestling is about, man. Wrestling is in a decline because of overproducing, and I think that's a bigger problem than just about anything out here in the wrestling scene, man. As far as in wrestling goes, is overproducing when it boils down to it. It seems like we have people that manage the sport, or the people that's ahead or in charge of the sport, let's say promoters, bookers, or whatever, do not seem, and I have to throw it on the wrestlers too, because it seems that no one understands that when a segment that they have is going very well, they don't know how to pull back on that segment. You know, hey, maybe that segment, you may have a match, or you may have an attack that happens outside the ring. You may have a promo that's going very well, and seem like the fans are getting into it, but they go a little overboard. They go a little too long. They go a little too long in the matches. They go a little too long as far as in the attacking people on the outside, where it just gets more and more. It just continues to boil over. It's like throwing more wood on the fire, guys, or throwing, putting more paper on the fire so the fire can build up, giving it a little bit more, and it just builds up and builds up. And that's what we have as far as in wrestling today, guys. It's so much, overproducing in rap. I mean, not in rap, but it's so much overproducing in the world of professional wrestling. I think it's, pretty much have lowered the value of wrestling, and it does not make it look good because, man, being simple, being simple is sometimes is the best way to go. Don't give us too much, man. Don't overfill our plate. And that's one thing that they're doing with wrestling. They will come in, like I said, they will start off the night and they will have promos. They will have promos, and those promos will go 15, 20, sometimes even longer than that if they think the promo is doing well. They will have somebody getting jumped. I'm talking about, some kind of segment of somebody getting attacked or whatever. They'll run in and attack, after a match. And, it boils over, and then they start attacking, afterwards they start attacking, like security guards, and, so many other wrestlers come out, and it just goes overboard. And that's one thing that we have to watch out for wrestling, is that the overproduction of it is just way out of hand, and it doesn't make sense. It just drops the value of what we're trying to enjoy, guys. So that's basically what I'm going to talk about tonight. But yeah, just give me a minute, guys. I want to check on a couple things here. But yeah, I just think a lot of problems that we are having, as far as wrestling go, is because of overproduction. Just overproducing the segments, overproducing. As far as wrestling, and for some reason, man, back in the day, the territories, they had this thing down. They knew when to pull the plug on something if it wasn't going well. If a match wasn't going well, you had a lot of referees will have something in their ear, or they would have something in their ear, and they would get down, they would tap the wrestlers or whatever, say, let's bring it home, guys, or whatever. Or you had somebody in the back saying, okay, that's enough. The fans are getting restless. They knew how to do it. They knew it. They had it down packed. It was like an art to them. They knew when to pretty much to abandon the match, to let the match go, let it play out the way that it was played. They knew when to pretty much let go of a promo back in the day. Now, man, they have no flipping clue. It seems like they go on and on and on. I know we do get some great promos that go and stop when they supposed to, But for the most part, no, we don't. JL is in the house. What's up, JL? Good to see you, man. Good to see you tonight. JL, good evening, brother. Definitely good to see you. But yeah, for the most part, like I say, it's overproduction, overproducing in wrestling. And that's one thing that we watched out for as far as in the music industry. We did not want to overproduce our segments. And that's one thing that wrestling needs to get away from. It is the overproduction. Yeah, they do it a lot. They definitely do it a lot. And I think that has a lot to do with what the way we view it. And a lot of the complaints are coming because of the overproduction in the wrestling business. All right, JL said, what do you think of the bill for Mania, Cena's heel turn? Man, I like it. I did like the promo that John Cena and Cody Rhodes had Monday. It was an outstanding promo, and it went a little bit long, but it was outstanding, man. And the thing about it is, I think they tried to top that all night long, and they overproduced some segments because of that. So, yes, but it's really good what they're doing. Now, as far as John Cena, would I be doing this at this point in my career and what I'm trying to do as far as in Hollywood and trying to be popular as an actor? Would I be doing this right now? No, I wouldn't be doing it. I would not do it. But, you know, hey, John Cena, he's figuring that he's helping out the business. But, man, in the long run, I think he hurts himself. But we'll see how all that plays out, JL. JL said, if you ask me, NXT is overproduced, especially the commentary. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very overproduced, man. They go way overboard with that. And as far as, that being overproduced, everything is so choreographed, so structured over there. And it gets a little old. It gets a little old. So, pretty much we have backed off. Me and Chris, we don't watch NXT. Well, Chris is usually at work. And, we do not get it as far as he does not get it on his TV live. I can get it on my TV live, but he cannot get it on his TV live. But I do want to go back and start watching NXT, but NXT is very overproduced. I agree with you on that 100%. JL, they just, man, that's something that they need to scale back. They really need to scale back on the overproduction. Now, as far as, let's go ahead and talk about AEW a little bit. I think AEW does a good job for the most part. I know a lot of people are down on them, but they do a good job. It's just that they have no clue. They have no clue when to stop something. It's kind of like back in the day, WCW, they had no clue. They overproduced. What is that? They overproduced. Wow, man. They overproduced NWO. I can't believe I'm about to say New World Order or whatever, but same thing. NWO, they overproduced that and they just kept going and going and going. Eric Bischoff admitted that he had no idea when to stop the thing, even though they wanted to stop it, but they overproduced it and it cost them, man. It definitely cost them, just here recently, the Bloodline definitely overproduced. They should have stopped that thing, 8-9 months ago. Probably before that. Judgment Day, overproduced. Guys, they just continue to go on and on and on and on. And you have wrestlers that was overproduced. And one thing I have to say about them is they did take some of these wrestlers out for a little bit. And, they wasn't, as far as they wasn't on TV, and that was a good thing. But you have people like Seth Rollins. He's definitely overproduced, man. He's really overproduced. As great as he is, he's overproduced. Jey Uso right now, big time, man. They overproducing him. That thing was going on really well there. I say last summer, they really had it going with that, the Jey Uso is me, Us and all that. And they brought it back. I give them credit. They was able to bring it back, and the fans really got behind it. But they are pretty much overproducing it right now. And they got to have a culmination. They got to have a finish to that. They need to go ahead and put the titles on him. Why they have a chance? Go ahead and put the title on him. Why they have a chance? Why they have the chance? Or go ahead and put a title on him, and pretty much go ahead and capture every single bit of that. Because man, it's if not, you're gonna lose it. You're gonna lose it straight up. All right, my man JL says, man, I haven't watched NXT since early 2024. I hear you, man. I hear you, and me and Chris haven't watched it since it's been on. I watched one episode since it's been on CW. Just one. Let's see. JL Dennis Rodman was peak now. What? Dennis Rodman was peak now. Okay. NWO. Yes. Dennis Rodman. Yeah, when they brought that in, that just it was way over the top at that time. Didn't make no sense. They just kept, like I said, they just continued to go on with it. And I definitely think they paid the price. I know they paid the price for it. That right there was pretty much that was the killer of WCW, because you couldn't bring an outside faction in and pretty much dominate your whole roster. And that's what they did with the NWO. Too bad, man. Too bad, too sad. If you want to go back in time, Hulk Hogan, even before. Now, in the NWO with the Hollywood Hulk Hogan, they definitely overproduced him. He was overproduced in the WWE, the WWF, World Wrestling Federation. It was a little bit too much of what they was doing back there in the 80s. Eat your vitamins, say your prayers and all that. Hulk Hogan, I know a lot of people liked it, and a lot of people looked at him and said, okay, he has a lot of charisma, but to tell you the truth, he wasn't saying eat your vitamins, say your prayers and everything. All that stuff that he was doing, that gimmick definitely wouldn't have worked. But it worked out on kids. I will go ahead and say that. But they did overproduce him. Gave him a TV show, a cartoon, with all the merchandise and all the stuff that they did. But very smart on the WWE's part, Vince McMahon's part, because Vince McMahon made a lot of money out of it. He really did, and Hulk Hogan did too. All right, JL, people are comparing Travis Scott to Dennis Rodman. They are both celebrities. Yeah, they are both celebrities, but Dennis Rodman definitely didn't go in there and do something really stupid like, like Travis Scott did. He didn't go in there and do anything. What's up, Richard? My man, Richard from TikTok. What's up, Richard Hood? Man, nothing much, man. Hey, I'm just on here talking about the overproduction of wrestling today, and talking about, hey, back in the day during the territorial days, it seemed like, they knew when to pull a plug and not overproduce their wrestling segments. They knew how to pull a plug on if somebody was out there doing commentary or somebody was out there talking about their upcoming match, they knew how to pull the plug on that. They knew how to pull the plug on when somebody was getting jumped. It seemed like nowadays, if somebody gets jumped, they have no idea when to pull it. They don't know when to pull it. They just go overboard, and the segment becomes dry, and people are not interested in it. And you see it over and over again. They do not know how to pull the plug on high flyers, guys that's jumping over the ring, cutting backflips and everything like that. It seemed like they have no clue. It's overproducing, and when you overproduce, when you do those segments over and over, time and time again, fans get turned off by it, and I believe that's exactly what's happening. I know that's exactly what's happening. That's one of the main problems. Not counting that today, there's a big time lack of creativity. These guys just do not know how to write storylines consistently. And when I'm talking about storylines, one thing that the WWE did probably about 4 months ago, they was writing pretty good storylines but one thing about them, they have shown that they cannot do more than 1 or 2 storylines at a time and pretty much fulfill the rest of the roster. Like they would do, like they had the Bloodline storyline going on, and then they had the Judgment Day, both of them going on at one time, at the same time, and it was doing pretty good. But as you saw the Judgment Day storyline go down as Damian Priest lost that title, Rhea Ripley got hurt. She wasn't there to lead the Judgment Day, and then you had Liv Morgan coming in for just a short time, and it still was pretty much prevalent. It still was doing pretty good, but they was not able to hold on to that. And then they had the Bloodline, and the Bloodline should have ended when they had Roman Reigns and Jimmy, Jay, and Sami Zayn against Solo Sikoa and his boys. It should have ended right there, but they decided to keep going on with it. But they see it's not working. Roman Reigns is not a full-time wrestler, so so pretty much he's relevant, but he's not relevant as far as that Bloodline storyline. They're still looking at him as the tribal chief and everything, but I right now just think they're trying to get everything they can get out of him. I know what TKO Holdings is doing. TKO Holdings, just like I told everybody, TKO Holdings They don't care nothing about anything except for the bottom line. That's what holding companies are about. So they care about the bottom line, guys. So they are here to get as much money out of the WWE as they can. So what they are doing and what Endeavor is doing, they are telling Triple H, just roll out the popular people. Just continue to roll out the people that are popular. You know, that's your Roman Reigns. That's your CM Punks. That's your Seth freaking Rollins. That's your Drew McIntyres. That's your Cody Rhodes. Continue to roll out that top tier, you know, those top tier players. And, you know, and when you do that, which, you know, that is fine and everything. But when you do that, you neglect your up and coming talent. Like, hey, Braun Breaker's supposed to be a huge star, and that's what they wanted him to be. But when you concentrating on all this other stuff, you concentrating on a little bit, you know, you don't see the big picture. And that's one thing that I can say about the WWE today is they don't see the big picture, and they are not trying to write storylines on a broad scope, and it hurts everybody else that works for WWE. A lot of these people are back in catering, don't have anything to do because, like I said, they only can work on a storyline, 1 or 2 storylines at a time. And it is sad, especially with all the people that they have, you know, in their rank and file. You know, a lot of former wrestlers who's been around a long time, but for some reason, people act like they just forget. You know, the older wrestlers, they are collecting checks, guys, and they act like they have forgot about how wrestling was ran, man. And it's flat out sad. It's flat sad. All right, my man Richard Hood says, just 1 second. Yeah, I'm with you on that, Richard. Richard says, Harry, they have hot spots everywhere. Yes, sir. Richard said, Harry, these workers today only care about entertaining themselves and not the fans. Exactly. You know, we do, like I said, we run an independent promotion, indie wrestling promotion. And Chris and I me and my partner have been in a lot of different dressing rooms. You know, we've done commentary, we've done a lot of podcasts, a lot of different shows, 23 different promotions we've been a part of, and we've been in a lot of locker rooms, or we've talked to a lot of wrestlers after their match is over and everything. All they want to know is how was their match, and a lot of these guys just up and get out as soon as their match is over, or they stay maybe another match or two, but they get out of there. They don't watch the show. They may be in there talking to some of their friends, some of the other wrestlers, and then they jet, guys. A lot of them, some of them are going to other promotions that they are booked on, and they may be the last match going into that, but they would jet down the road and go to another promotion and wrestle. They really don't care what's going on. They would get their match taped, and they will watch that. They do not watch the whole shows. So yeah, Richard, you're exactly right. Most of these wrestlers today, they pretty much just care about themselves, man. And it's not about the fans. In any business that you are a part of, and one thing I have to say about the old school wrestlers, especially people like Ric Flair and Ricky Steamboat, and you know, a lot more of those guys. You throw Jack Briscoe in there, throw Jumping Jim Brunzell in there. A lot of those different guys, they will tell you flat out it was all about the fans and entertaining the fans. Even Chief Wahoo McDaniel, it was all about the thrill, that the fans was getting, and they serve the fans just like any business should be in business, to serve the fans first, and all the money and all the other stuff will come a little bit later, but going there to serve the fans. And if you do that, you will always give the fans the best, and that's what I believe all those promoters and wrestlers did back in the day, man. They served the fans because that's what it's about. You said, Richard said, Harry, is Michael Hayes still on the creative team with the WWE? As far as I know, last year, 2022, 2023, he was doing a lot on the team. 2021 too, doing a lot. To tell you the truth, I don't see his blueprint on it anywhere. So I would not be shocked, Richard, if he's not. But he's still with him. But I would not be shocked. Matto's in the house. What's up, man? That's Mr. All Days Off. Mr. All Days Off is in the house. What's going on, brother? JL said, isn't money the goal, though? No, JL. The money is not the final goal as far as any business. I know you're young and everything, but JL, when you go into business for yourself, and I know you're in college, you're a smart young man, but always remember this motto, man. Always remember this. When somebody asks you why you go into business, or if you're going into business for yourself, man, go into a business that you like, but go into the business to serve the customer. Even if you're going to sell hot dogs, you're going to sell hamburgers, you're going to sell pizza, or you going in to sell t-shirts, man, and sneakers or whatever, you know, tennis shoes, anything that you go into business to do, you know, if you go in and you're selling cars, man, hey, you want to sell that person the best car possible, even if it's a used car or whatever. You want to have your mechanics and everybody go over that car and make sure that car 100% before you give it to that customer, because you want to make the customer happy. Because if you make the customer happy, that customer is going to tell 3 people, those 3 people going to tell 10, and those 10 are going to tell 100. That's how it works in business. You know, if you have a wrestling show, if say you go to an indie wrestling show, you go to that indie wrestling show, say it was all a CMW, or you go down the road to EPW, whatever, Explosive Pro Wrestling, or you go to Carolina Main Event Wrestling, and you see good matches, or you see something different, you see something that pretty much that you really like, you're going to go back and you're going to tell your friends, you're going to try to get other people to come. Like I said, you're going to tell at least 3 people, and those 3 people are going to tell 10 people, and those 10 people are going to tell 100. So, man, that's the way wrestling used to be. You know, we would go to school. I remember that. We would go to school, and wrestling was so hot. It was so good. We would go up there and say, hey, Nikita Koloff had a signing with Magnum TA, and Magnum TA brought his mom, and Nikita Koloff, he insulted her mom, and Magnum got upset. Magnum jumped over, you know, he jumped over the table to attack Nikita Koloff, and they was fighting right there in front of his mom, and his mom was just screaming, "Stop it, stop it!" Nothing like that ever happened before. Now, anytime that they have a signing between 2 wrestlers, it does not matter. They're always attack. There's attacks. It's always fighting going down. But they copied what they did back in I think it was 1985 and I think it was 85 when they did that, 86 when they did that signing. And they have copied that ever since then. And, you know, it's been an overindulgence. It's been overproduction. They've overproduced the segment over and over again, time and time again. And it's done got old and it's done got stale. And nobody wants to, nobody's really up and excited about it like that anymore. You know, we do look forward to those pretty much those signings, but each and every time we know what those signings is going to be about, man. Straight up. All right. All right, Mr. All Days Off says, them WrestleMania tickets are outlandish. Yeah, yes, they are. My partner, man, John Hargrove and Teo, those guys are going down. Teo, one of our wrestlers, and John Hargrove are going to WrestleMania, guys. So, hey, big ups to them. I wish me and Chris would have got in on that earlier, because I definitely would like to be there. But yeah, those WrestleMania tickets are outlandish, man. They are crazy. Robert Brown says, Lafayette, Indiana in the building. Was popping, my brother. Nothing much, man. Glad that you in here, Robert Brown. Glad to see you. All right, my man JL says Ruthless Aggression was the best WWE. The Edge Lita match story was one of the best in my opinion. Yes, it was great. I love that. Outstanding. All right, Mr. All Days Off says RB. Robert Brown, yeah. So Robert Brown says, what's popping, Motto? What's popping, Mr. All Days Off? Mr. All Days Off says, you're preaching straight facts. Yeah, man. Yeah, I mean, it is. It's just the truth. You know, we could go back and look at a lot of different things, man, you know, that they used to do back in the day that now have turned into a frenzy. It just have gotten overblown, and they continue on. You know, we can look back at all the way back to as far as the table spot. You know, the table spot. The first time that we saw anything like that is with when Terry Funk, he suplexed Ric Flair on the table. Now that wasn't one of those breakaway tables. That was a real table. That table didn't break. He suplexed Ric Flair after Ric Flair's match against Ricky Steamboat, one of the greatest matches of all time, according to everybody. You know, but he suplexed him on that table. You know, after the match, that table didn't break. And then a little bit later on, several years later, about 6 or 7 years later, we had what year was it? 89 when he did that. You know, about 6, 7 years later, we had Eric Bischoff get thrown through a table by Kevin Nash. After that, man, it hey, all steam ahead as far as these tables. And the tables, every time you turn around, they pulling out the tables. And you do have some people just go crazy or whatever. And it's not like we haven't seen this a million times before, man. It's overproduction. They are overproducing that table spot. They're overproducing. Battle royals used to be something special, something that everybody used to look forward to. Now battle royals is just it's a drag, and it's like, okay, this is a time filler, man. They become a joke. Nobody wants to really see it no more. They need to scale back, and let everybody miss it for a while. But hey, we have it all the time, man. And these tournaments used to be something that we saw every now and then, and we was all happy and joyous about it. But now we really don't care about it like we used to. No doubt about that. My man Motto says they are making a documentary on WrestleMania, WrestleMania 9. Any fond memories of that event? Not really. It was good. It was good, but I really, Chris. When we bring Chris in now, Chris, he could talk about that all day. He loved WrestleMania 9. So that's that right there. Just really wasn't that much to me as far as the way I look at it. All WrestleManias that I've seen for the most part have been overhyped. Now I love what they've done, and I love that they've set records and everything like that. But for the most part, most WrestleManias that I've known, besides probably the last couple years, not last year wasn't that good. 2 years ago was a very good WrestleMania. But for the most part, man, WrestleMania, I'm not, besides the spectacle, I haven't really been into the cards as much as a lot of people. Now, some matches are just unforgettable, like Ricky Steamboat against Randy Savage. So that made that whole card special, even though the whole card wasn't special, Motto. All right, my man Robert Brown says, thoughts on the DJ Vlad versus Booker T situation. Man, I don't even know much about that, Robert. I did see that, and I did see DJ Vlad call Booker T pretty much a pedo. I did see that, so I'm about to go in and check this out, man. That is just flat out crazy. DJ Vlad got a lot of mouth. And I tell you what, if he wants somebody to close it for him, it will be Booker T. I don't think Booker T afraid to pretty much, to be dirty on that situation because he shouldn't be doing that. He definitely shouldn't be doing that. All right, my man JL says, are you sure it's not nostalgia talking, Harrington? No. It's JL, man. It's not nostalgia because, hey, I definitely like what they're doing. I love the new moves. I love that I do love the new moves that a lot of wrestlers have. I love a lot of things that they do, that they try to do. But when, we sit here and we look and we see a lot of different things that are looking good, that pretty much are making sense. And then, like I said, they don't know when to stop it. They have no clue of when to stop it. Let's go back a few years, man. Hey, Wardlow, hey, the power bomb. Everybody was into his power bomb. He was power bombing people. But what did they do? They overproduced it, man. They overproduced it. They kept going until the people got turned off about it and did not even stop even standing for it or yelling for it or whatever. So yeah, it's definitely overproducing, man. It's not nostalgia speaking at all, JL. It is what it is, man. The sport right now is being overproduced, and it lowers the value of professional wrestling. It really do. This thing used to be looked at as a sport, and I think we got a little too far. I think they really went a little too far with the sports entertainment thing, man, and it's just done gotten way out of hand. Okay. Let's see. All right, my man Jason Miller says, I agree 100%. Richard Hood says, Harry, I stopped watching the AEW when they started one of their shows with a battle royal. Yes. I hate that they do that. Man. They overvalue those type of matches. And, when they first started doing it, those matches meant something in the AEW. They really looked like they was pushing for something with those type of matches. But then they went to the point where like they just started throwing them together. And as far as the people that they put in these matches, it could be just basically anybody, man. They just throw in, they throw in mostly guys that work for Ring of Honor and maybe a couple locals, and they just roll with it when it boils down to it. All right, my man Motto says, you catch any of the Dark Side of the Rings, one of the Folly and Ludwig Bogle Bogle next week, Big Van Vader. I got to check out Big Van Vader. But the other two, no, I have not seen that, Matto, Mr. All Days Off. But I'm definitely going to have to go back and start checking those out. Chris been checking them out. Chris always checks them out, but he don't come on here and he does anything about it. I say, man, come on there and let everybody know what you learned, man. Talk about it on the show, but I will be doing that when I start watching it. Definitely got to get on here and give people my thoughts on it. All right, my man Robert Brown says thoughts on Cena heel turn. Yeah, I just now talked about that with I talked about that just a little bit on JL. Maybe I expound on it a little bit more. John Cena, I do not think that he should have. I wish he wouldn't have done it, to tell you the truth, Robert Brown. I do like it. I do like what's going down. Man, I love the promo spot, the in-ring face-off that Cody Rhodes and John Cena had Monday night. It was outstanding, man. It was outstanding between those two. Those guys both made very good points, and Cody Rhodes held his own against John Cena and probably got the better of him. And that's saying a lot, because not too many people is going to get the better of John Cena in a face-off, man, talking back and forth with him. But Cody Rhodes, man, he showed his, he showed his tenacity. He showed what he had. He had a lot of tenacity to be able to come back and bring it back to John Cena. He hit him just as hard as he got hit, but you could pretty much tell that Cody Rhodes was studying, studying the great, studying his dad, Dusty Rhodes, his friend Ric Flair, Nature Boy Ric Flair, studying Roddy Piper, man, studying the masters of the day, Larry Zbyszko, Arn Anderson. Those guys was great talkers, and you could tell that he studied those guys, man, 100%. All right, man. Richard Hood says, Harry, today workers don't look like workers. Exactly. My man Richard Hood says, I went to an independent show one time and they thought I was a worker. I bet they did, Richard. I bet you they did. Because, I'm bigger than most of the wrestlers. Chris is bigger than most of the wrestlers. Man, when I first went to the indie shows, got back into going to the indie shows back in early 2021, I was just flat out stunned, man. I was just like, wow. And, one thing when I first came back and started watching wrestling, and we was watching NXT, and I said, one of the first things I talking to my podcast partners, Christopher Burton and Michael King, I said, one of the first things that I did notice, I said, the wrestlers look like, the wrestlers look like the fans, man. They look like the fans. And I said, that is a problem. And everybody started laughing. And Chris said, Harry, the days of the big guys are over. Yeah, but back in the day, you could not wrestle if you wasn't 200 pounds, man. Most likely, you 200 pounds, unless you was 200 pounds or close to it. If you wasn't close to 200 pounds, you wasn't getting in that ring. You just was not getting into that ring, man. That's just how it was back in the day. And it used to cost $6,000 too. It used to cost $6,000. I don't care where you trained. It used to cost $6,000, and it took like 3 to 9 months before you became a professional wrestler. Now you can get in the ring after being in there, go and train for a few weeks or whatever, and you just pay a couple $100, $300 or whatever, and they will train you, and you can become a professional wrestler. It's kind of sad, man. It really is. And they pick anybody. You can just grab anybody off the street and throw them in there as a professional wrestler. Now, I have no problem with these guys out here living their dreams and all that. But yeah, it's a big problem when the fans become the wrestlers, and that's what we have, especially here on the independent scene. And a lot of these guys who done made it up to the AEW, WWE, and the TNA ranks are from, that's where they came from. They came from those ranks. And man, to me, that right there is part of the problem. But that's a big part of the problem, huge part of the problem about wrestling, because wrestling back in the day, they found their wrestlers in all kind of remote places. They found wrestlers, man, hey, they found them in bars. They found them in as far as in weight rooms, at gyms. They found them, you might find a wrestler at a car lot, or some big guy walking through the supermarket, some guy who likes to work out. He's walking through the supermarket. They found their wrestlers like that. But they found wrestlers all over the place. And wrestlers found guys that was bigger than them, and they asked, or just about their size or whatever, and asked them where they come and be a professional wrestler, told them what they do. They didn't just, they did not have people come out to the show and then you had random guys. And I know a lot of guys who have, who's come out of the crowd to become professional wrestlers. So that's just the way it is, man. It's just flat out crazy. Mr. All Days Off says, do you like that he kept his gear to do a heelish move since the fans wanted to see him with a new look? Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I did like that. Robert Brown says Cena Hill promos suck. Sucks. Yeah, they're not as good. They're not as good as his fan favorite promos. I agree with that 100%, Robert. Matto says Mr. All Day Saul says his promos will be great if he had a new appearance. It don't hit while he wearing Fruity Pebbles shirts at 50 years old. Exactly. That's true. That's true. Look, man, I wish he would come out there. Why can't the man come out there in a suit, man? Come out there in a suit, brag, brash, with a whole different persona, with a beautiful, beautiful tan. Be like a Baby Doll, and I'm talking about a woman that looks better than Baby Doll. Baby Doll was, I love Baby Doll too. But man, come out there like Tully Blanchard. Come out there arrogant, brash, and he can be a better Tully Blanchard because Tully can talk, man. Tully can talk. So I don't know, but come out there and be like Tully Blanchard and come out there and say, this is my perfect 10, man, and go in there and talk all kinds of mess and put Cody down like Tully was doing before Tully joined the Four Horsemen. When he came over there at Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, man, when he first came to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, after he left his dad's promotion to go over to Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, and he had that little feud for a little while with Chief Wahoo McDaniel. He got in to it with Johnny Weaver, and then he got into it with the Nature Boy Ric Flair, and it was all about clothes, man, at first. He was trying to compare. He was trying to say his clothes that he was buying and what he was wearing was pretty much was comparable to what the Nature Boy was wearing, man. And the Nature Boy was pretty much tailor-made head to toe. That stuff was nowhere near what the Nature Boy was wearing. It looked like a Kmart special. I'm sorry. It definitely looked like the Blue Light Special compared to what Ric Flair was wearing. But Tully Blanchard, he got to the point where, man, he took offense at that. Rick was dogging them clothes out every single week, man, telling them he's embarrassed about those clothes that Tully was wearing, and you can't compare those. So those two got into it, man. They was fighting for a few weeks. Then next thing you know, Tully started helping Chief Wahoo McDaniel, and then next thing you know, man, he's battling Ric Flair a little bit, Magnum TA. Next thing you know, man, he's friends with Ric Flair. They done started the Four Horsemen. It was kind of crazy, man, how it happened. It was great the way it happened too, though. But yeah, that was shocking as I don't know what. One of the most shocking moments that I will ever remember as far as professional wrestling. But the whole Four Horsemen gig, everybody that joined the Four Horsemen, to tell you the truth, outside of Ole, Arn, and Rick, was a big time shock, man. It was just crazy. The man, Mr. All Days Off says, did you speak on Bret Hart saying AEW has actors playing a wrestler? No, I haven't spoke on that. That's something I did see. But I'm going to have to go more into that quote and everything else that Bret the Hitman Hart is saying. I do think they do have wrestlers over there. One thing about the AEW wrestlers, guys, they try a little too hard, man. They really do. They try a little too hard, and I think if they pull back a little bit, and that goes to production, just like I said, they pull back a little bit and make their, and don't try to override us. Do not try to push too much on us. I think they'll have pretty good segments, man. But hey, like I said, that art is over with. And they had the people over there who can pretty much tell them how to do that, man. You had Arn Anderson in the fold. They had Tully Blanchard in the fold. They had the Big Show. I think the Big Show is still there. They had Mark Henry. They had veterans over there, man, who could tell them. They had Jake the Snake Roberts, man. Tony Khan, man. It's all about Tony Khan. And Tony Khan just don't know what he's talking about. He don't know what he's doing. Richard Harry, have you checked out Cassandra Golden on the independent circuit? No, I have not. I know about her. But no, I have not really got a big chance, but I know the name and everything. So yeah, Cassandra Golden. Thank you, Richard. I will check that out. All right, my man Robert Brown says Cena ought to have Shannon Sharp as his ring announcer. Oh, that'll be interesting because I think Shannon, one thing I will say about Shannon will do everything he can to get that guy over, man. I mean, get him even over more than he already is. We know he's way over, but Shannon would bring a new twist to it, bring new fans back bring old fans back to wrestling and bring a lot of new fans into wrestling. And that's what wrestling needs. It definitely needs, that new influx of, a big influx of old school wrestling fans, because I'm telling you what, it's more of us. as far as old school wrestling fans, especially Gen X guys. It's more of us out here who's not watching the sport anymore than we have people watching the sport right now. Way more Gen X guys, and you still have a lot of pretty much baby boomers, because, hey, Gen X just goes from, Gen X is what, 1965 to 1980, guys. So, everybody that's born between those years, and we're the smallest generation, guys. We're the smallest generation out here. So, but, you have like 9 million of us, and, and I'm not, 9 million of us, I'm not going to say all of us are professional wrestling fans, but a lot of us, as far as us males go, are professional wrestling fans, because back in the day, 7 out of 10 guys, either knew about wrestling. If they wasn't a fan of wrestling, they didn't watch it every week. They knew what was going on. And the most of them, 5, anywhere from 4, I say anywhere from 4 to that 6 will watch, and they would ask people. They would pretty much, stay in touch with it, stay in tune with what was going on in professional wrestling. That's all it is to it. That's how it was back in the day. All right, let's see. Yeah, all right, Richard said, Harry, back in the day, wasn't any wrestling schools. You had to know somebody and know somebody to get trained. That's true. You only had a few back in the day. You had Vern Gagne School. You had Fabulous Moolah School up here in Columbia, South Carolina. Vern Gagne out in the Midwest, out in Portland. I think you had Larry, let's see, not Roddy, where Roddy Piper was at. You had Dunn Owens, who had a school there. Out in Houston, you had Paul Jones, who had a school there. You had a few schools. You did have some schools out there. You had trainers, but they used to train people in a dungeon. They really didn't. They didn't do it the way that they do it now. Bill Watts had a school. Jerry Lawler had a school. But like I say, it was basically those schools were. They were bringing a few guys that was out there, and basically they tried to hurt you, man, pretty much to discourage you and see what you actually did you actually want to do it? Because there was a lot of money to be made back then, man. But yeah, it wasn't wrestling schools like you see now. Now it's wrestling schools everywhere. Throw a rock and you're going to hit a wrestling school, especially here in the South. Mr. All Days Off says, Shannon Sharp interviewed Damon Wayans yesterday. It was great. Okay. Oh, yeah. Georgia Championship Wrestling in Atlanta. That's my favorite. Outside of Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, that's my second favorite, Richard, is Georgia Championship Wrestling. I know all about Georgia Championship Wrestling and Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. And, hey, they did merge and became WCW, but they was already WCW before, Mid-Atlantic had got involved, before Jim Crockett got involved. But when Jim Crockett got involved, they went to another level. But Georgia Championship Wrestling was already great. But those two was my favorite, and then Florida Championship Wrestling was my third favorite. All right. Let's see. Robert says, I can hear in now Sharp. Let's see. I can hear him now. Shannon Sharp screaming, y'all don't appreciate 6 John Cena about to take the wrestling company by storm. Heck yeah. Yeah, Richard Hood said the Monster Factory. Yes, sir. All right, Mr. All Days Off, laugh out loud. We just need Rock and Travis to speak on the partnership before Shannon. Yep. With Cena. My man Robert Brown says, who ain't aware Hulk Hogan got his leg broke when they was training him? Yeah, what's the name? Hiro Matsuda broke his leg. Yeah, Hiro Matsuda broke his leg. He came back. But yeah, Hiro Matsuda broke that leg, man. Big time. Hiro Matsuda was a real tough guy. A tough guy, a true 100% shooter, man. That was him. He was that dude. But I appreciate everybody coming in, man, rocking with me on the Straight Up Wrestling Show. I didn't even really plan on staying on this long. But hey, if you are on here, man, make sure that you hit that like, share, join, guys. If you hit that like, share, join over on Facebook, hit that like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell. If you're here on YouTube, do the same thing. If you see me over on Twitch, because I am live on Twitch, and if you are over on X, guys, then you see me when we're on X, guys, hit that like, share, tweet, and retweet, and follow Straight Up Wrestling Show. But whatever platform you on, hit that like, share, man, and let your fans know about Straight Up Wrestling Show. Hey, definitely do that, and I'll be on at the same time tomorrow night, man, talking about something else, guys. And I'm going to get on here, and Richard, man, I know you're an old school wrestling fan. I'm going to get on here and have some talk about, hey, Georgia Championship Wrestling, talk about my favorite Georgia Championship Wrestling guy, and one of my top 5 guys of all time, as far as guys that I like, my man, Mr. Wrestling 2. Talk about my man, Tony Atlas. Okay, of course, Mr. Wrestling 1, Tim Woods. Talk about Kevin Sullivan. Love him and Tony Atlas when they was tag team partners over there in Georgia Championship Wrestling. They was a great tag team. Man, Ole Anderson, Stan Hansen, Lars Anderson, so many different people, man, that came through Georgia Championship Wrestling. And then, of course, Dusty Rhodes, the Road Warriors and Sting and all those guys, Lex Luger, all those guys, man, when WCW took over. But, you know, all the way back to the 70s when I first started watching Georgia Championship Wrestling in the 70s and 80s, all the way up into, they pretty much merged with Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. I remember so many great things from Georgia Championship Wrestling, a lot of great things that happened down in the Omni, man, and so many other places, Marietta, things that they was running back in the day. But Georgia Championship Wrestling was outstanding back in the day, man. No ends, ands, or buts about it. All right, Robert says, for those who ain't aware, Hulk Hogan got his leg broke. Got that. Mr. All Days Off says, damn. Okay. And all right, my man Richard says, let's see, Jim Barnett bought the World Championship Wrestling name from Australia. Brought it from Australia. Yes, he did. And Australia definitely had a good wrestling scene there too. And I've been to Australia. I was down under for 3 months. And remember that they had a very good, healthy wrestling scene back in the day. My man Robert Brown says Cody Rhodes should have ran down with the ring and tried to fight Cena 2 weeks after Elimination Chamber and screamed, where's Travis? I hear you. Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, man. Oh my gosh. All right, Richard said, don't forget about Thunderbolt Patterson. Yes, sir. How can I forget about Thunderbolt Patterson, man? I mean, this dude, man, Thunderbolt was great. He was outstanding, at Georgia Championship Wrestling and when he was in the Mid-Atlantic. He was great. And you can't forget about his famous promo on Ole Anderson, man. When just my man was like, ooh, he's gonna be like, Ole, he's like, hey, the powers to be a chance to get my hands on you once again, Ole. And, the man just didn't really know what he was saying. Thunderbolt was just, he was just talking, man, and he just said, I just, wow, man. I can't even remember all that, but I did a short on that and got the most views I've ever got on Facebook from a short. But, man, but Thunderbolt Patterson, man, what in the world were you saying in that, man? If you move, that was that famous promo, man, of the Georgia Championship Wrestling, man. Only if you move, I'm gonna. I used to believe everything Thunderbolt used to say, man. Everything Thunderbolt said, man, I believed it 100%. That Thunderbolt was gonna do all this stuff in the ring. He didn't even have to say it, man. I'm just like, man, you don't want Thunderbolt on you, man. Thunderbolt sound like some kind of sound like your mama, man. Back in the, I'm talking about one of them hood mamas, man. Back in the day, that would really get on you. That would really just tear you down, man. If you done something wrong, or if she wasn't gonna get you real good, she gonna wait till daddy get home and get you, man. So I was just kind of, it was cool. It definitely was cool, Richard, and it, man, bring back a lot of memories, man. Thunderbolt, he did his best stuff over at Georgia Championship Wrestling. Did a lot, Florida Championship Wrestling, did a lot in Mid-Atlantic, but most of his best stuff was in Georgia Championship Wrestling. My man, Mr. All Days Off says, take care and thanks for some time. No problem. Robert Brown says, Cena, 2 weeks wait didn't help. 2 week wait didn't help. Okay. All right. Okay. My man Richard says, before they did shows at the Omni, they wrestled at the Atlanta City Auditorium. Yes, sir. Yes, they did. All right. Richard says, Jerry Oates is my friend and favorite wrestler. Jerry Oates, Ted Oates is his brother, right? Ted and Jerry Oates. Was it Jerry and Ted Oates? Or what? I think that's who it is. Ted Oates is his brother. Man, I used to love watching them. I had a friend of mine say, man, wasn't they jobbers or whatever? Or one of my friends, who's an old school wrestling fan too. He said, wasn't they jobbers? I said, no, they was pretty darn good. I remember the Oates. They was good. Jerry and Ted Oates, they was very good. One of my favorite tag teams. Hey, man, that is so cool, Richard. But yeah, man, Jerry Oates, if I can get Jerry Oates on here for an interview, man, I would love to do that. I would love to have him on here, man. But Richard, if you can hook that up, hook that up, man, I definitely would appreciate it. Or hey, if you tell him about Straight Up Wrestling Show, and man, let me give a shout out to Jerry Oates. But I definitely give a shout out to Jerry and Ted. Those were two of my favorites, man, of all time. They was really good. I loved Jerry and Ted Oates, man. Yep. As far as my favorites up there, and like I said, I forgot about Brad Armstrong. Definitely one of my favorites. His father was too, Bullet Bob Armstrong. I love Chick Donovan too. I used to like Chick Donovan, even though he was mostly a jobber up in down in Georgia. He was a jobber when it boiled down to it. Let's see, who else did you have? Austin Idol. I like Austin Idol's run in in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Of course, I can't forget about Tommy Wildfire Rich. Can't forget about Buzz Sawyer. So many people as far as Georgia Championship Wrestling, man. I can't forget. They did a fantastic job in Georgia. Abdullah the Butcher, man. Abdullah the Butcher was just insane in Georgia Championship Wrestling. And I remember when Dusty Rhodes brought the man in the doggone cage, and he had Mad Dog Vachon in that cage. That was just crazy, Richard. One of the scariest moments. I remember when the Road Warriors debuted, and they came in and they had those biker uniforms. I will never forget that. And I was like, man, this is unfair. This is unfair. I hated it. I hated them Road Warriors, man. I really did. They were so big. I'm like, how in the world can anybody stop them guys? Yeah, I'm with you on that, Richard. Richard says, Harry, I love Bob and Brad Armstrong. Yes, sir. Rest in peace to both of them, man. Great wrestlers. Great guys, man, 100%, father and son. And the other brothers wasn't too bad either. Richard Hood says Pez Watley. Yeah, Pistol Pez Watley, who changed his name to Shaska. Oh, Shaska. But, hey, Pistol Pez Watley changed to Shaska right down the road from Atlanta, man, right down the road down here in Greenville, South Carolina. TV taping, he changed, in my hometown, became Shaska Watley. Oh, my gosh, man. Wow, that was just crazy. And what a feud between him and Jimmy Valiant. Paul Jones, pretty much number one Paul Jones being the manager of Pistol Pez Watley. And it's a shame. So a lot of guys, even in my generation, the ones in their 40s, like my partner and everything, he don't remember Paul Jones as a wrestler, man. I'm like, he was incredible, man. Incredible wrestler. Number one, Paul Jones was an outstanding wrestler. All right, let's see. Richard Hood says, I have been down the road with Abdullah the Butcher. Oh, okay, cool, man, cool. Abdullah was something, man. He put on a show. It didn't matter wherever he was at, whatever he was doing, all the way up until his old age, man. He was still putting on the show. Do you remember enhancement talent, Gerald Finley? Yes, I remember Gerald Finley, man. Hey, Gerald Finley was the Rocky King of Georgia Championship Wrestling. Rocky King is more Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling. He used to lose all the time, and that was Gerald Finley. But Gerald Finley, I used to like him. Gerald was better than Rocky. Gerald wasn't too bad of a wrestler. It's just that, that's what he was. He was enhancement talent, 100%. All right, Richard, I'm glad you said that, man, because I kept trying to remember that name, man. I kept remembering, I'm like, who was that guy? Who was that guy, man, the black wrestler who used to just lose week in and week out, but he was there for years. Yeah, Richard Hood says Ron Simmons. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's where Ron Simmons came up in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Pretty much his start was in Georgia Championship Wrestling. He was the man there. Man. 100%. Butch Reed, man. Butch Reed run was there. Junkyard Dog. When Junkyard Dog first came, when he came there from Memphis, Junkyard Dog was just tough, man. He was great. One of the first guys I ever heard with entrance music. He came to Georgia Championship Wrestling and, with Another One Bites the Dust, man, carrying that big chain behind him. I'm just like looking at this dude like, wow, man. I knew about him because of the wrestling books and everything like that. Knew about him in Memphis, but never had saw him wrestle until I saw him in Georgia Championship Wrestling. I think around 1982 or something like that, 82 or 83. But when the first time I saw him, but man, he was incredible. He definitely was an incredible specimen, definitely an incredible wrestler there, man. Hey, Ray Candy, man. Love Ray Candy. I don't know about that Zambuli Express. I did like them too, but Ray Candy, I like Ray Candy as a solo wrestler better than I did a tag team partner. But yeah, I definitely like Ray Candy. Ray Candy, man, he was just, and the fans loved him, man. Fans loved him. So it hurt my heart a little bit when he became a bad guy, but I still liked him because he was super talented, man. Way over, very talented guy. But man, hey, that was just some great things that was going on in Georgia Championship Wrestling. And Richard, man, I appreciate you pretty much bringing back a Bad Leroy Brown. Yes, partner Bad Leroy Brown. And man, I used to love how Leroy Brown would come out there. Oh, when he first came to Georgia Championship Wrestling, Leroy Brown was a fan favorite, man. He come out there, and he just, fans just loved him, and they were just crazy about him. Bad Leroy Brown. That, I'm talking about somebody else who had a lot of talent, another big man that had a lot of talent. These guys was incredible to watch. And I think first time I saw King Kong Bundy was in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Jake the Snake Roberts, first time I saw him was in Mid-Atlantic Championship Wrestling, but Jake the Snake Roberts had a great run in Georgia Championship Wrestling. I think that was even better than WWE. He was just more popular in the WWE because how big it was. But Jake the Snake Roberts made his mark in Georgia Championship Wrestling. Man, he was incredible. I still have a little thing about who have the better knee lift between him and Mr. Wrestling 2. I give it to Mr. Wrestling 2 though, because Mr. Wrestling 2 used to use it as a finisher a lot, so I got to give it to him. All right, my man Richard Hood said Ernie Ladd, the big cat Ernie Ladd, loved him, man, in Georgia Championship Wrestling and every other territory that he was in. All right, the Mighty Zulu, yes sir, Richard, no doubt, man, no doubt. But guys, I appreciate each and every one of you coming in once again, man. Before you leave out of here, make sure you hit that like button wherever you at, man. If you're on Facebook, like, share, join. Here on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell, ding, 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 so you know we're on like times like these. Do the same thing, man, do the same thing on Twitch. And if you on X, formerly known as Twitter, like, share, tweet, and retweet, and follow Straight Up Wrestling Show. I'm HBT, man. I am out of here. Appreciate you coming in, Richard, my man Richard Hood coming in. I appreciate I appreciate my man Mr. All Days Off coming in. My man Robert Brown all the way from Lafayette, Indiana coming in, hanging out with us, man. I appreciate my man JL coming in, man. Love my man JL coming in. But man, love each and every one of you guys, man. Hey, remember, you're not just fans of the Straight Up Wrestling Show. You are our friends, and we appreciate you guys coming in, man, rocking with me tonight. Christopher Burton, I thought he was going to be on, but Christopher Burton, I guess he ended up, coming from work. He was a little tired or whatever, so he did not get on tonight, man. But I am on, and I'll be on at the same time tomorrow night around 11 o'clock, 11:30 or whatever. But I'll be on rocking with you guys, man. So come in again and check out the things that I'm going to talk about. I'm not exactly sure what I'm talking about tomorrow, but it's going to be interesting. Come on tomorrow night, man. Stay straight up. Peace.